Okay, and we should be live.
Yay!
Let's see here. Yay, there we are. There is a bit of a delay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fangirl magazine, radio, YouTube. We're all things to all people. Tribute to Harold Ramis and a discussion about Ghostbusters Afterlife. And I want to thank, we have one viewer right now, which, hey, whoever you are,
Hi.
say hi. There is a chat. And I want to welcome the lovely and beautiful Z, as she is the biggest Ghostbuster fan I know. I'm not going to ask her to show her tattoo, but you can see her tattoo on Jimmy Kimmel. If you look up Ghostbusters tattoo online or YouTube, she got to show it to the original team.
I did. It still makes me tear up thinking about it.
Aw, it was I was so happy for you. And you also called him out on take your clothes off, only if you pay me.
Gotta pay
So
me first.
you got it. So I wanted to do this discussion, and it just worked out to where it is on Harold Ramis's birthday, which I that just got me to think about the fact that it was so close to that the movie came out. And we'll warn you before we get into spoiler territory, because let me tell you, if you get spoiled for this movie, it's horrible. Don't get spoiled for this movie. Just let it
Yes.
wash over you like a wave of good feeling funky slime and goo, and let it make you feel better about life and the universe and everything.
Yes.
Very much. So Ghostbusters Afterlife was an amazing film. It's probably my favorite movie of the year. And I mean, I'm telling that with Suicide Squad, that had Peter Capaldi and David Dastmalchian and uh, King Shark. That movie was fantastic. Been waiting for that forever. But Ghostbusters Afterlife, uh, it just hit everything that it should have hit. It's what the Star Wars movies before Mandalorian and what they're doing now, which is what they should have been doing in the first place, were should have been. At least to me. I mean, that's one description I've seen. Kind of is comparing it to the rise, the Rise of Skywalker. What that should have been, what those movies should have been, which is you take your time, make interesting characters, introduce them that are new, spend time with them, care about them, and have that bridge between the original characters and these new
Yep.
ones, and do it in a way that is reverential to the original material but brings new to it. And this movie did that perfectly, and it did something that, funnily enough, Star Wars tried to do and did in a way that was okay. But this film, and I'm leaving that vague because this is going to be some spoiler stuff that we're going to talk about, but it did it in a way that was perfect.
Yes.
And I probably cried. I know I didn't cry as much as you did for this film and during this movie.
I honestly don't know if anybody will.
But I I I was a mess for about 50% of it.
I almost double that. Like,
You
I
mean
was already
100%, like from the beginning.
it's not entirely wrong. I'd say there was a good 10% of the movie where I wasn't actively crying. Was my body like about to at any second? Yes. But yeah, I'd say about 90% of the movie I spent ugly crying. It was great.
It was so Jason Reitman did something that I think is just wonderful. And he has a familial. That's the word I'm trying to say.
There it is. I
Tied
knew what you
to,
meant.
thank you. Familiar. No, that's not it. To the original through his father who directed it, but also he said, and I watched a video where he was saying this, where his favorite Ghostbuster was Egon, and he loved Harold Ramis, and this is just a massive love letter, massive, just
And it's not just a love letter to the franchise and the fans, but it's a love letter to Harold Ramis too.
Yeah, and it's not sappy at all. It's not it's not baiting. It's not a ham-fisted way of doing it either.
Yeah.
It's
I was concerned a little bit
Yeah.
that it would get to that like saccharine too sweet territory.
Like a Twinkie.
Speaking of,
Yes.
I had to go
This is where we go.
to two stores to find Twinkies, which feels wrong. And then when I finally found them, they
were the
only
devil's.
they had either the chocolate ones or the regular vanilla cake ones, but with banana filling. I'm like, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, yikes. No,
I honestly have not had a Twinkie in like decades. So this is
that could be a decade-old Twinkie, and you wouldn't know the difference. So
that is honestly fair.
This is the truth. But to me, how is it? I love Chocodiles. I'm sorry.
It's not bad. It's
But
not as sweet as I remember or was expecting. So 10 out of 10. Would eat again.
But that's the thing that I was worried about too, was, it could get too, too precious with everything, and it didn't. And the other part of the film that I really, really loved was the fact that they took their time introducing you to these new characters, to the family, to Phoebe and her brother and her mom, and gave them personalities of their own, instead of, and this isn't a spoiler because everybody already knows that this is Egon's granddaughter, grandson, and daughter. Instead of it being the mother being the geek, there's nothing geeky about her. She's just anti-science, which is about the most sacrilegious thing you could do to Egon's family.
Which, I mean, and you figure out, they do explain why she's like that and why she can't connect with her very science-forward daughter, Phoebe.
Yeah.
Which, God, McKenna Grace is just a treasure.
She is just amazing. And
she truly, truly is just so talented. And she's so young.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is I was amazed when I found out. I was like rocking out to the song at the end. I'm like, yeah, I really dig this. Then it's her. It's her singing the
I'm pretty sure she wrote that too.
Holy shit.
I'm pretty sure she wrote it. I know that she sang it, and it's incredible. It's her first single. Get it?
Taking over the world. Just give it to her.
So. I loved her in Hill House.
Oh, she was great in Sabrina too.
I have never seen that show.
Oh, it's good.
And then
so good.
She's always in movies, and she's got that face where, like, she's before now, where you're like, I know her from somewhere. And then you're like, oh yeah, she was in literally 17 things I was just thinking of.
Yeah, like she's young Captain Marvel. I'm pretty sure I interviewed her before for oh God, what was it? See, she's been in so much crap. I'm like,
right?
What thing was it she was in that I interviewed her for?
She was in one of the Conjuring movies, right?
I think it was Annabelle. That was the one that she was in. And I'm pretty sure that's where I saw her. And I love that she has embraced her the genre. She is like, and if I remember the interview correctly, she was all about it. And it was telling to me that this movie was going to be special already when I actually interviewed Finn Wolfhard for The Turning, which is the movie he did that was based off of The Turn of the Screw.
Yeah.
That no one remembered. Like, that movie came and went pretty quickly, sadly. But what was interesting about that interview, there you go. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Thank you
Uh,
to my friends for being great.
that he only for like the first 10 minutes of the interview only wanted to talk about the Ghostbusters trailer that had just dropped that day. And it was funny because his agent was like, or his assistant or whoever it was like, oh yeah, ask him about the Ghostbusters trailer. And I'm like,
Okay.
are the guys that made The Turning okay with you saying ask him
Like,
about the other movie? And I'm like,
oh,
okay. We'll talk about Ghostbusters. And he was just freaking out about it. Like he was, is that so bad? Is that so good? Like, Ben Wolfhard, you're a geek.
what an adorable, precious little nerd.
He was so sweet. And he was so excited about it. And it had literally just dropped that morning, I think. And I'd watched it and went,
I
oh
remember.
my God, that's there's the spores in the mold and the funguses.
I remember, first of all, hearing that they were going to make another one. And after the mess that was Feegbusters, I was more than nervous because Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time. Um, but then I found out that Jason Reitman was directing it. I'm like, oh, never mind. This should be fine.
This is going to be okay. I think it's
great.
safe. It's safe.
I think I'll be okay. Even if it's terrible, I know that I'll still love it. But then I remember the first trailer. I can't even tell you how many people messaged me the link to it, which happens anytime there's anything related remotely to Ghostbusters. Like inundated, which I love. I don't, please send it all the time.
Same.
I love it. And so I remember seeing just that little teaser trailer and instantly just like ugly crying. It happened with every subsequent trailer since all of them were released.
Yes.
Like first trailer, last trailer, ugly crying every time without fail. I was like, uh-oh.
All I know was I was like, the entire time I was watching the movie, I went with a friend of mine for work, and I kept leaning over and said, you don't understand. She's going to be on the floor, like in a fetal position, openly sobbing. And I'm actually worried about her as it progressed, as it went on. And when things started happening, like obvious things happened, like not even the beginning, which was bad enough, but I'm like, when it's obvious certain things happened, I was like, oh, oh God, oh, they're gonna kill her. She's just gonna die.
So when after Harold Ramis died, and they re-released Ghostbusters in the theaters for a little while, I saw it, obviously, any chance to see the original in theaters. So I went to the theater and just immediately cried. Immediately. As soon as the movie started. Like, the credits haven't even rolled yet. And I was just sitting there crying into my popcorn. And my friend's like, are you good? I'm like, no, I'm just real excited.
No, I'm not
and
really
also
good.
sad. And then the next time when they released it on one of the anniversaries, saw it again, cried again, same exact thing. And this time was the same because, and this is not a spoiler, the opening of the movie, it's the same notes as the opening to the original movie, like musically. And I just immediately, my eyes filled with tears. And my friend that I went with and I looked over like to each other, and he was like, oh, buddy.
It's like, oh, this is going to be the entire, I know how this is going to go all the
I was like,
this
is going to be rough. But yeah, there was actually a point in the film where, because the theater I went to has the really fancy, like, reclining seats. So I was already reclined a little bit. I'm very short, and if I sit all the way back in one of those chairs, my feet don't touch the ground. So I don't really have a choice.
She's a hobbit. You didn't know that she is.
am indeed. I'm very short. And so I was already like kind of reclined. I was super comfy and, just openly weeping. And the guy sitting next to me was like, should I be concerned about, do you need somebody to hold you? Because no, thank you. But like, at the end, like the final
Oh God.
scene, number one, I was already crying. Like, that's just, if I was watching this movie, you can assume I was crying the whole time, which is not too far off. But there's a part at the end which I won't talk about yet.
Yet.
Um, but like my legs all the way up to my chest, my shirt just over the lower half of my face, and I was like, at one, I don't remember when in the movie it happened, but I had to remove my glasses because they were so fogged up and wet from me crying. I couldn't see, so I was like, well, I can't see with them and I can't see without them, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna put these on my head now because
No,
it got that bad.
it was, what was great about this film, before we get into spoiler territory, is the fact that Jason Reitman really made a modern sort of Steven Spielberg film. Is
Yes.
really where he took this to the sweeping locales, to the smart kids, the intelligent kids. That was the other thing that I really liked about this, because you could have gone so annoying with these
Yeah,
kids.
it's hard in like film, television, whatever, to write child characters in a way that they don't come off as incredibly grating to every part of your sensibility. Like,
Yeah,
there are
I
just
mean,
some kids where you're just like, please make them be not a part of this show anymore.
kill them off.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
I was gonna say,
no, really.
please kill the child, and that is just, the phrasing is terrible.
No,
Please
no. But I
that.
really loved how they wrote. I was that was the thing I was worried about, was because one of the kids was named Podcast, and I'm like, oh God, no, God no, because I was more annoyed in Godzilla versus Kong about anything than the guy that was the podcast dude, and I thought that was just like, oh Jesus Christ, but
In all
podcast
fairness,
was
we are a
fantastic.
terrible people. Podcasters, we are awful.
We are. I know we are, but a kid one
Yeah,
is like doubling down.
and honestly, I didn't even know that there was a character in the movie called that until you mentioned something to
I
me
saw the figure.
about it.
I saw the
And I was like,
figure, and I'm like, oh God.
I was like, who's that now?
Yeah, and so I really liked the fact that he was great. I actually really liked his character. I loved his being just a twisted, dark individual, because he lived near this weirdness his whole life. And it was hilarious. It's just, he was so blasé about it, and like, oh good. And just the twist at the end, where we find out who his one subscriber was.
That also made me cry.
Oh my God.
I was
it
like,
was
oh no.
fantastic. So I guess
so much.
I guess at this point we're just gonna go spoilers. So if you have not, for some reason, seen Ghostbusters Afterlife at this point, or if you have managed to avoid everything online, which has just, they don't give two craps anymore about it.
Right? I am still absolutely shocked that I made it to the day.
I can't believe you did. I can't believe
without
you did.
seeing anything.
She saw it Friday, right?
Yeah.
She saw it Friday. Mm-hmm. I saw it Thursday, one of the first showings here in town, because I'm like, I'm going. You know, I want to go. And I'm so glad I did when I did. But yeah, I don't know how you managed it, because literally the same frickin' night they were posting the spoilers.
I don't know how either, considering like all of the people that I follow online. I am shocked that not one single turd said something, because it's happened. I was like, guys, but like personally, a bunch of people messaged me beforehand to ask if I'd seen it yet, because they wanted to talk to me about it. I was like, oh, no, man. Do not say a word.
I've got to give props to the Ghostbuster fandom on this, because I think it's because people want everybody to go that love this movie, want people to go in pure and not spoiled, just so they can experience it, because it truly is a fantastic movie. And everybody, I'm really getting tired, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this tonight, was I'm really angry and tired of the end time to hate on something. Like, it's in to hate on Ghostbusters Afterlife for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't either. It's like people always talking about, they're like, X fandom is so toxic, Y fandom is so toxic. I'm like, no, here's the thing. All of them are somehow, for some reason now. Like, if you get into any fandom, there's going to be an overwhelming number of people that are just complete turds.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and I hate it. Like, just let people like things how they like them. If it's not hurting anybody, like, you don't have to like
all the same
Ghostbusters
stuff
the same exact way I do. Like, why? That would be so boring. Just let people like things. And I've seen so much commentary on this movie in particular, since we're talking about it, but so many people being like, oh, it was fan service.
That's the thing, is everybody's saying fan service, and it's like, yeah, it's fan service, and it's fan service done right. Why would you want to piss off or pee all over the fans that kept this franchise going? Why would you want to do something to piss them off? By the way, Alien fandom,
I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, Prometheus, the guy that wrote that decided, I'm just gonna F with. He actually said this. I'm gonna F with the Alien fandom, and I'm going to change it and do to it what I want to do, and completely jack up how the xenomorph happened. That's how you don't handle a property, and that's how you don't handle a fandom.
I'm gonna take this thing that a lot of people love, and I'm just gonna blow it up, and just a big old middle finger. Why?
Yeah, so let me get the name, because I've blocked him from my mind, and you honestly don't really hear that much about him anymore either. Lindelof. That's it. It popped into my brain. So Damon Lindelof decided that, yes, Damon Lindelof, who came into his career as a fan on Lost message boards, or actually not Lost, Alias message boards, and then he ended up working on Lost. But he actually said this while Kevin Smith interviewed him, which was, I basically went in to mess with the Alien fans. And it's fine to, take and switch up look at Battlestar Galactica. I hated the new one at first. I was like, no, they're making this completely about robot sex, because that's really what they were pushing.
I've never seen that either.
And but it is, in fact, I went back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a chance, because everybody is telling me because I was a fan of the original, like Lauren Green, Dirk Benedict. That was, that was my jam when I was, because I'm 100 million years old. But Battlestar Galactica took the original, brought in even original actors into it, and created a homage to the original, but created something amazing and expanded the mythology.
Yeah, it's part of the universe, but still its own thing.
Correct. It just expanded upon what happened there, and it did it in a really smart and inventive way. Completely going into a thing wanting to screw over and screw around with the fans is not the way to make people love you and your work. It's
obviously not going to
look at what's happening with Doctor Who.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm glad you did. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, man, must be nice to be able to have a modicum of clout to be able to do that kind of nonsense though. Being like, yeah, so I'm just gonna completely take a dump on this franchise because
I can.
the studio let me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
hmm, must be nice.
kind of a privilege. So anyway, yeah, I could go on and rant all day about that,
Hmm.
but no, we're not here for that. Speaking of Doctor Who, I still believe that that tweet, and I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. And the fact that IDW Comics
Yes.
basically what we're talking about is I tweeted out because I was just thinking about it and I had to get it out of my brain the fact that Harold Ramis would have made a fantastic US version of the Doctor for Doctor Who. To the fact that his hair at one time looked like Peter Capaldi's used to look like,
Hmm.
and Tom Baker's, and he did the big toothy grin and looked all adorable and was a goofball. And also, Egon looks exactly like young Peter Capaldi down to the glasses.
Yeah.
Um, so I posted this, and one of the people that follow me on Twitter posted, "Thank you, sir, for this," because now I have to go back and look through all my Ghostbuster
I
comics that I bought.
I pulled up the photo if you would like me to put my
Please, please
phone.
do.
Uh
Yes, they made Egon into the Doctor in the comic book,
how very dare you? And
even to the
also
scarf.
thank you.
Yes, look at the hair and the scarf. That's Capaldi wearing
It's
Tom Baker's scarf.
like that's literally I don't know how things work
This,
right now. Literally a young Peter Capaldi. If you've ever seen photos of
yeah,
a young
it
Peter
totally.
Capaldi,
It's and there
right
is
there.
no way they made a point of making that scarf that color. They did. So we're not the only ones that think that should have happened if it was going to happen.
Yes, which is
They should have.
good to know. The
Yes,
fellow nerds at IDW were like, what if?
two thumbs way up. Yes, I'm here for you.
More of that.
Yes.
More of that.
So let's go into spoiler territory. Just so you know, we're hitting spoilers now. Spoiler, 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 spoiler. Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, the movie starts out with the death of Egon Spengler, and they do it in a brilliant way.
Mm-hmm.
I because you knew who it was,
Yeah.
and they kept his face out of view. He didn't talk,
Yep.
and um, it was just when I was watching that, I'm like, oh man, and I saw it in one of the trailers, and I'm like, that's Egon, and it's done in a just a fantastic way, a terrifying way, heartbreaking way, and which I'm sure
Oh yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah.
it destroyed her.
Mm-hmm.
It destroyed me, and it hinted at what was to come because after it happens, and you don't see it happen really, you just see the PKE reader
Mm-hmm.
drops from his hand.
Yeah. He dies with unfinished business.
Yes,
Which
and
I mean, don't we all?
yeah,
But
and what's great about the scene though was it's not working, and then all of a sudden it turns on, and I knew immediately. I was just like,
uh,
oh,
I mean,
he's
as
still
a paranormal investigator,
there.
I knew exactly what was coming.
Oh yeah.
When that I'm like, oh no. I mean, not to say that I've used a PKE meter because those aren't real. The ones in the movie, there is something very similar to that, but it's not that. Which I
Yeah.
wish. I need to find someone to make me a real one of those to the internet. Uh,
I'm sure
but
they're out there.
oh,
Um,
absolutely. I know at least 3 guys that I could ask right now and be like, "Hey, buddies." But yeah, when it lit up, I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
oh
Yeah.
no." I
And then
sensed much crying.
I knew it was. I was like, oh, they're going for it. They're doing it. They're gonna do it.
Just
And
like there were so many times through the movie when like just something little would happen and I would just immediately
the chess
reach reach
playing
for my heart
the
like a
playing with his
maniac.
granddaughter
Oh,
chess. I knew
oh,
it when I saw that happen. I'm like,
yeah.
oh shit, he's
So
playing
there's
chess with
it's
her.
near the beginning part of the movie. They move into Egon's old house, which you still like, it's Egon's house, but they never really fully name him until much later in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, because it was a big secret that he was their grandpa.
Well, not just that, they, the relationship with his daughter
Mhm.
is
Not known.
heavily strained, and so she has made it her mission in life to not speak about her father because he
Mhm.
left.
Yeah.
And we find out, the reason why he left was a very, like a good reason and what he was doing, and it was a
Mhm.
sacrifice of his own to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah. And
And yeah.
yeah, so like, they never knew anything about their grandpa really, and then they move into this house that he left them. It was the only thing he had. Then Annie Potts shows up and I sobbed. And
When she
it
showed
was
up, I actually, I the my friend Justin that went with me. He also was like, oh, when she came through
Mhm.
the door.
Yeah. And so then it's like, they're just making or like, getting used to being in this new town in the middle of East Jesus
Nowhere.
nowhere,
Yeah.
Oklahoma, I think. Is it
Yep.
Oklahoma? Yeah.
Colorado. I think it was
No,
Colorado. Was it Colorado?
I think it was Oklahoma.
I gotta look now.
Please do.
I
Um,
thought it was. I thought it was Colorado. I could have swore. I'll look.
yeah.
Keep
But
talking.
then she's like, she's, unpacking what little stuff she brought with her, Phoebe, the granddaughter, and she
Oh,
has
it is
this chest.
Oklahoma. You're right.
Ah, thanks,
Look
brain.
at you.
It remembered one detail. And I am very proud because my brain is trash. But she like sets up this chessboard next to her bed before she goes to sleep that night. And she like closes her eyes, and then you see one little chess piece just like boop. And I was like, oh, he's playing chess with his granddaughter that he never got to meet. And so then it's like a little running game. Like she wakes up the next day and she sees that the piece has moved. She makes her move. I don't play chess, so I don't know what's happening. But I do know that it's a game that she's playing with her ghost grandpa.
With her ghost grandpa.
Yep.
And in the thing that I loved too was when they finally build towards, the reason he's there is, of course, and this was kind of spoiled in the trailers, is Gozer has a massive temple underneath this town, and Shandor, who I couldn't believe was played by J. Jonah Jameson. I thought that was so
Right, that
fantastic.
was amazing.
When he just showed up for 2 seconds. But it's this awesome looking set that they made for this thing. And that's why he went there, was because he knew this was going to be the place that the apocalypse was going to start from because of this thing.
Because Ivo Shandor was responsible for the building that Dana lived in to summon Gozer. And then when they go, the kids, all of them go to the mine where the temple is underneath.
Because they have nothing else to do in this town.
Exactly. And so they notice or Phoebe notices, more specifically, all the numbers up around the top, like a kind of like trim of this temple. And she's like, they're dates. And if you count it was every 37 years. I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Yep. And I loved the line that Phoebe uses to explain her ability to deal with all this stuff, and that was it chaos calms me, basically. Like overstimulation calms me.
Yes,
and it's so great because that kind of makes you think, oh yeah, Egon just kind of
Mm-hmm. Just cool in the face of chaos.
Yes.
But
And yeah, I
it,
loved it. I
it
love that.
was just her to say, like, and she's like, business. And she's like, I got
She's a little
this.
psycho. I loved it too because Egon does
Yes.
that too in the court. I think wasn't it in the court scene or during? It was either in the court scene. I'm trying to remember. Or Walter Pecker, Walter Peck, Peck. I just call him Peck. Walter Peck. He just goes after him. He's like, he's gonna beat him up,
Mm-hmm.
and she has that moment, and I'm like, ooh,
Yep.
when she's
I'm like,
about ready to turn on the. She's gonna basically blast the sheriff of the town because she's pissed,
yeah, he took
and
her
she actually,
stuff.
yeah, and she turns on her proton pack and is going to shoot him,
Just
and
like
they have to.
obliterate this man.
Yeah, the look on her face is great too. God, she's
So
great.
good.
I love McKenna.
So good. But
So,
honestly, if somebody tried to take the Ecto 1 from me,
oh yeah,
I would have the same reaction because I have said publicly many times to my own mother's face, by the way, that I would sell my family into white slavery for the original Ecto 1. So they
but you
know,
know,
they know.
but you know where they know where they rate.
Exactly. I'm
This
like,
is important.
you know what I'm about. You know what
Yeah,
this will not be a surprise.
no,
If given the opportunity,
I respect this.
I love you. Sorry, not sorry. I'd find a way to get them back. Maybe some of them.
After driving across the country in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be about a month too.
yeah, I mean, it's fine. They'll be okay. Um, the one scene from one of the trailers that did stay in because you know how sometimes they like to do that. They're like, "Here's a really cool scene." Just kidding, it's not in the movie. Ha ha ha. But the one where she finds Egon's like lab,
Yeah,
basically, um, and she opens up the little locker, and it's got all of his or like all of the flight suits in it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
like I that in the trailer obviously made me sob because I am a maniac. But
It got. I
even
cried too. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
just
That would make me go.
and this was before anybody knew that they were supposed to be Egon's grandkids. And so you just in that trailer, you catch the flight suits and a glimpse of his
Engler,
name tag.
Engler.
Yeah. And so, but the part that really got me in that scene is she's like looking at it, she reaches into the pocket,
Yep.
pulls out a crunch bar, and I was like, oh,
The thing
he
that got
got a
me.
treat for being such a good boy.
The thing that got me though was the glasses. That scene. It was so perfect. It was perfect. And there is a scene where she finds Egon's glasses, and she just picks them up and puts them on over her own, and it just they're the same, like it just seamless, and that just really knocked me good. That was great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this movie, it I knew it was gonna hit me hard, but I didn't expect how hard it hit, and even and I got to give props too to within all of this emotional stuff, like Finn Wolfhard could have come off as a annoying asshole of a older brother. He did not. He just came off as a normal kid
Yeah.
that and just he was interested in a girl. He wanted to have a car, and that was it. That was his focus. He wasn't the smart, intelligent, super genius like his sister was, and he wasn't overt about that either. He was an awkward kid who was really smart, and wasn't that was really her thing. That's that she just liked science. And
Yeah. I love the scene, the first scene with Paul Rudd when she goes to summer school. First of all, just Paul Rudd, thank you for existing. I love you deeply.
We need to talk about evil Paul Rudd.
Oof, we'll get there because
Oh my
I need a
god.
moment. But
God,
when she goes
crying,
in,
oh, sorry,
you're
sorry.
fine. You're fine. You're getting lost in Paul Rudd, and that's very relatable.
That's the best place to get lost.
one of yes. But he rolls in the TV on VCR, like I remember.
Yep.
From my school days. and plays Cujo for a group of 12-year-olds, which is wonderful. And then she's talking to him, and she asks if he's a seismologist, and he's like super shocked, and he's like,
You know
"You know
what that
what that
is."
is?" She's like, "I'm not an idiot." She's like, "I love you. I
I
love
liked
you."
her. I thought you were just being obtuse.
Was that a joke? Yes, that's why I winked. Her jokes in the movie also are just
Her
terrible and
jokes saved the
hilarious.
world.
I was waiting for that joke to be in there, honestly. Um, it's the grasshopper joke. It's like, a grasshopper walks into a bar, the bartender says, "Hey, we got a drink named after you." And the grasshopper says, "You've got a drink named Steve?" Which is the first, that is how I heard it the very first time. And then everybody would like change the name. I'm like, "No, his name is Steve. How dare you?" Like, very offended that this imaginary grasshopper, his name is being ruined. I'm like, "No, don't you know him? Steve, the grasshopper with an alcohol problem? Hi, duh.
Because he keeps going into bars.
How dare you?" So maybe it's like that Costco situation, like the joke where people like try and get free samples and they just put on the
Different
fake
hat.
glasses with the mustache and they're like, "No, I'm definitely Clifford now." Wow, okay. But yes. So when she told that joke, that was one of the few moments where I was not crying.
No, I loved it, and I loved Paul Rudd's character because again, he wasn't annoying. He was hilarious. He was charming. He was still smart. He just seemed so happy to have found someone who got what the hell he was talking about in
Mhm.
this town.
Even though they were a 12-year-old child.
Yes, exactly.
He was like, "This kid's rad." I'm like, "Yeah, she is. I want to
Yeah,
be her
and
friend."
he appreciated it. He appreciated the kid, and I love the discussion between him and her mother, who's named Kaylee.
Callie.
Callie.
Yeah.
I
Which
don't know
we
why I
don't
keep
learn
calling
until
her.
the very last moments of the movie.
Yeah. So the mom, Egon's daughter, is going on this date with Paul Rudd, which we can dream. Um, Paul Rudd, who does not age, the sexiest man alive. Paul Rudd. Yes.
Officially.
Officially official. So they go on this date, and there's this great back and forth between them where he's trying to figure out why do you hate science so much, and you get this reasoning, and you get it. You finally realize, okay, well, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Why would he do that? It doesn't.
Mm-hmm. That
And
doesn't track.
yeah, and so you find out that it was in fact to save the world, and he sacrificed his being with his family, and he never really left her. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the other scene that just made me start tearing up was the freckle count.
Yep.
On that, she finally goes down into the place that Phoebe and company have already been, which is, I love the fact that they kept the fire pole,
Mm-hmm.
because Egon loved the fire pole, and he has this fire pole into his secret lair where he has all of his stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
there is this table lamp with,
Ugh.
and the table lamp is the most evil thing they could have done. So the table lamp is basically the way Egon is able to, he moves it around. And you got to
Mm-hmm.
remember too, but this is something I thought about as the movie went on, and at the end, as a ghost, you have a limited supply of ectoplasm, or your ability to control things. At least that's what I was thinking about while this was going on. And he wasn't there physically. You could see him, but he could move things.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was using the lamp as a conduit to move around and show things. And I don't know if he possessed the lamp or he was just moving it around, but
Just moving it.
he's just
In
moving
the
it around.
Yeah, in the paranormal field, it takes a lot of energy for a spirit to manifest in such a way that it
Right.
can move things. So that's like whenever you're watching one of your ghost shows and they're talking about batteries dying and they're like, "We just changed these." That is one way they're able to do that kind of thing. Is they drain that energy and then they use it to communicate.
There you go. And this is why I like having her here for whichever way I have to point there.
I know.
Because she knows all this stuff. But I was watching, I'm like looking at that and like, oh, he's communicating this way. So he does that with Phoebe, and then when Callie comes down, she's looking around and she realizes what this is because she's knew her dad, and then the lamp turns the light onto the wall, and it's the Callie wall.
Yeah,
and
it's just covered in pictures of her.
And you see these little notes that only Egon would have made as a scientist watching his daughter grow. And he's counting the number of freckles on her face and how her height is changing and all this stuff. And it's basically just this massive wall. And you see her just realize, oh my God, it breaks her. I'm getting teared up thinking about this.
Don't start with me.
Damn it.
Oh, how dare you? I did say when I tweeted the link to this.
I'm not gonna cry.
I was like, come join us. Will I cry? Probably.
I'm not doing it.
I also, and again, just if I am talking about this movie, assume that I was crying while I'm talking about whatever I'm about to talk about, because it's probably right. But the scene when Phoebe first goes down into the lab and it just closes in on the little terrariums full of spores, molds, and fungus. No. Yep. And then
goddamn you movie.
Where the screwdriver was and the lights. Whoop, and I'm just like, oh.
I know, and he's helping her put together the proton pack. Fucking movie.
Just snot covered hobgoblin.
Oh yeah,
I was.
So as we kind of figured would happen at some point, at least I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be a use for these two. So Callie and we're just gonna call him Paul Rudd. His name's Gary.
Yes, Gary Gruberson. That was my. She's like
Gary Gruberson.
His name's Gary. Gary Gruberson, just A+.
Yes.
Reaction, because I would have said the same thing.
Perfect. But they end up, as I knew they were going to, because it was obvious they were going to do something with the two of them like this, and they make them the key master and the gatekeeper. And I love the fact that the dress happened. I was like, it's the dress! I yelled that out in the theater. It's that dress!
Which I've wanted that dress since I saw the movie the very first time.
Oh man, no,
still waiting.
Fantastic.
How dare mostly me for not figuring out how to get one.
But I gotta take a moment to talk about Paul Rudd with the glowing eyeballs of Satan and his biceps straining as he tries to pry away that proton laser thing from blasting. And I even the guy I was with at the thing was like, whoa. Like, and I just went, hi, evil sexiest man alive. I said that it came out of my body. But yeah, I need to just take a moment to talk about growling, angry, demonic Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Yes.
And that happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's the sexiest man for a reason. And that reason is he's Paul Rudd. The end.
He's Paul Rudd. That's it.
Somehow he looks younger now than he did when he was in Clueless.
He does.
That's what happens when you're God's favorite and also not
unproblematic.
When you're unproblematic, you age backwards or something.
Yeah.
Not necessarily backwards, maybe parallel to how normal people should age.
Exactly. Well, he's draining the energy of others or something. He's
got to be. There's just it's like in Angel, which great show mostly. But Jasmine.
We don't talk about that one season.
The one I'm about to talk about, you mean? Yes. It's like she brings about world peace, but she's got to eat people every now and again. It's fine.
Yes, that season.
Would you like to have a utopia or everything the same? Utopia's great, but I gotta eat people. So I feel like it might be that kind of situation. Like Paul
Yeah.
Rudd's like, I'm gonna age like a literal god. But
He
every
eats
once in a
people.
while,
He
I
like
gotta
this.
eat somebody.
He dislocates his mouth and eats a guinea
Mhm.
pig, just like, but it's a person, just like Diana and Thee. And I'm okay with that because he looks nice, and I like
You know
looking at
what?
him.
I feel
I'm
like
okay.
Paul Rudd would be some kind of like supernatural Dexter, where
Ah,
he
he only
just
eats evil people because they
yeah,
taste better.
yeah, yeah, and the amount of pure good that like
Mm,
flows through his body is enough to turn that evil into making him younger and more
yeah,
powerful. And I like it.
and us happy.
Head canon accepted. Yes.
Yes, and it makes us happy, so it's all good.
Yes. Because
Um,
every generation needs a Paul Rudd, and I hope that that
or a
generation's
slayer.
Paul Rudd is
Is
Paul
he a
Rudd.
slayer? He's a slayer, is what
Maybe.
she said.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying he isn't, but I'm not saying
he's not.
he is. Yes. Unconfirmed. Wink.
Obtuse.
How dare you use math at me?
So, as the film progresses, bad things happen. Ghosts get loose. Not very many ghosts. That's my only complaint. That's other
Yeah.
people's complaint, but I'm okay with the trading of
Yeah. Well, it's
additional
because
ghosts.
there's been no ghost sighting for
Right,
over 30 years since the
right.
event in New York happened. And I saw
But
somebody
also,
today talking about is the video game canon? Um and there's a lot of discussion about that. Like I've never played the video
oh,
game.
the video game's great.
Yeah, but they were like, well, it takes place in 1991, so it would make sense
We
that
can we
it
can
is
talk about
canon.
the Lego Dimensions game too, which is
Cute.
fantastic.
Also, I think the video game was written by Harold Ramis and Dan
Yes, it
Aykroyd.
was.
So
Also,
I would
this
say that
this
yes, that
happened.
is canon.
This is the little
Oh.
Lego Dimension. And I broke it.
Whoa, well.
Ah, I knew that was going to happen. This is from. I'm like the only person I think that actually played the hell out of this Lego Dimensions, and it's got the voices. It's the actual voices,
Ooh.
and you go around. You do the Ghostbusters movie. I even have a
Nice.
trap. There's a trap, and I'm pretty sure there's a Slimer
Nice.
somewhere in here. Somewhere there's a
Okay.
Slimer. I don't think I built the Slimer, but he's there. And what's even cooler is you could have Gizmo go around
Ooh.
with in the Ecto One if you wanted to in
Hilarious.
this, because this game, and a Peter Capaldi, because he's the doctor that was around at the time this came out. So ha ha ha. Anyway, as I dig around, um, so Gozer's temple blows open, and Olivia Wilde, who I didn't know that was her, but I was like, I know who that is. I kept thinking the whole time
I was
is
like, if that's
Gozer.
not Olivia Wilde, I am very
Uh,
confused.
yeah, he looked amazing,
She did.
and I kept thinking, who is that? And I'm pretty sure you're right. That's who that was.
Hmm.
And the scenes are fantastic with them trying to stop Gozer, and everything bad happens.
Hmm.
And they
And
end up back at the farm after. And I gotta tell you, the chase scenes in this movie are fantastic.
they are
And these
great.
kids are in actual jeopardy as they're
Yeah.
going on, because it's
Bridge.
Phoebe is. I was expect. I even said this. I'm like, oh, I thought we were going to go Hereditary there for a second, because because Phoebe is on this chair as her brother is driving like 90 miles an hour. She's dangling off the chair, holding a proton pack, and it's outside the car, and they're just. I mean, I would
Yeah.
have vomited at this point.
Yeah, it's a gunner seat.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. It's actually really, really
So
smart.
so good. So
Um,
good. And when he Trevor, I
Trevor's the
believe.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah. He finds the Ecto 1 in the barn. And
Oh,
obviously, yes, I cried. And was also jealous that they got to like be all up about it. I'm like, oh, someday. Someday. But just like watching this teenage boy like find his first car and like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a piece of junk. You love it. You know it.
I absolutely was that your dog? I'm like, there's something undulating back there.
Yes. Both of my dogs are in here.
Oh, there's a baby.
That's Trapper John.
Aw. So we come to the end of the film, and this is the part that I'm going to try not to cry about.
Oh,
while we're even talking about it, because what I knew, I'm like, oh God, something. I bet you, because you see Phoebe.
We'll backtrack a little bit.
Yeah,
so the kids figure out. Well, Phoebe
and the rest
figures out that the farm isn't just a farm. It is actually a live
massive
ghost trap. It's the whole farm is a ghost trap. And so they're like, okay, well, and that's how Egon got at the beginning. He had the whole thing ready to go, and then it didn't work. And then
because it was too much power required.
Yeah, and so the kids have figured this out. And okay, and he's like, "Excuse you, pet me now." And then the final scene, the chase happens, and it's the showdown between the kids and Gozer, and they think they got it, but again, it fails.
Yep. So then, don't you cry. Don't you do it.
I won't make a single promise.
So, in between all of this happening, at one point, Phoebe and company get arrested, and they call the number that was on the Ghostbusters ad, and it takes her to Ray's occult bookstore. And Dan Aykroyd talks to Phoebe, and you find out, and it's a lot of exposition, but you can't help but you love it because it's Dan Aykroyd as Ray giving exposition.
She asks what happened. She asks about Egon, and he says Egon Spengler can rot in hell, and I'm like,
I'm like, what the hell, man?
Have I been shot? Like it.
I was just like,
I knew it was going to be resolved eventually, but God damn it, that got me. And when another scene earlier, when Callie, the mom, said something about he was an asshole or something like that, I'm like, you shut your mouth and put soap in it beforehand. How dare you?
So basically, the last thing she says to Ray before they pull her off the phone is, Egon Spengler was my grandfather. And you see his face just go.
Yeah.
And so at this pivotal moment where everybody thinks, oh, we're screwed, you hear the voice of Peter Venkman come through and say, "Did you miss us?" And we knew this was coming. I'm like, where's it at? Where they are. And I thought, oh my God, they're gonna kill all of them. That's what I thought. I'm like, holy shit, they're Harrison Fording us out. They're gonna kill them all.
That thought never crossed my mind, to be honest.
It did me.
And I am mad that you made me think about it.
It made me think about, I'm like, oh, they're gonna Joss Whedon this bitch. They're just gonna wash them. They're gonna sacrifice themselves for this. And I'll be like, no.
Much like if you listen to my podcast, I always say Bill Hader would never, because I get weird messages from dudes, and then I just said Bill Hader would never, because he would never do that. Jason Reitman would never as well.
He better not.
He would not. I would find him and honestly just cry at him.
You just follow him around bawling, like wailing in your mourning gear. But of course exactly. But they don't die, which is
great.
Thank you. They have their banter, which is fantastic, and Ray finally answers the question of, are you a god, with a yes.
I love the pause though.
And they're all looking at him like,
all
Ray.
Of them like, Winston's like, come on, man.
So so they are crossing the streams, the three of them, and it's not working. And Gozer pulls them apart, which is like, oh shit, it's like, oh man, this is not good. So they are attempting to do it again, and there's not enough power. And you see Phoebe come out with her blaster, her proton pack, and she's barely hanging on, man. She's fighting and fighting and fighting. And those bastards, there's the hand. And I'm like, oh, I just went, oh, son of a bitch. And my second thought after, oh, son of a bitch, was, oh, Z.
Yeah. Like right now, you mean? Yes.
And yeah, I'm like, oh.
It was just all of a sudden, and the movie, because the music's all.
It swells.
There's a fight scene, and then it just. You look at Phoebe, you see his hand like a Force ghost on her little shoulder, and he's helping her with the proton pack. And honestly, I don't know how I remember that scene, because I feel like I was blinded by tears, and I'm surprised my eyes were open, to be fair to myself. But I just, and when the rest of the team, when they turn and look at him, oh,
yep,
oh boy, oh lordy, oh yep. Good lord,
yep,
just
and the whole thing, and it was done. So here's the thing that is making me angry. I have seen people online, and there's one certain individual, I won't mention a name, but they did a tweet about there being a emaciated corpse of Harold Ramis dug up for the movie. This was back when they announced that the movie was coming out. And they said that, why is this being liked again 3 years later? Oh no. And I'm like, you never should have said that in the first place, because that's just mean. But secondly, that's not what happened here. And there's a difference between what this was with this, which was beautiful. They did an amazing job.
My first thought, aside from, oh god damn it, as I saw, my immediate next thought was thinking about his kids.
And they and Jason Reitman asked permission.
Oh, of course he did.
Even before they started doing anything with this, they wanted to get the blessing of it, or they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, but I don't, and I haven't asked them, because I do know Molly and Violet. I have not asked them because it feels like a very poor time. But I don't know if they got to see it before the premiere, or if they saw it the night of the premiere. I don't know, but
I would hope that they show it to them first,
like completely,
so they would
blindside
deal with it.
Because it, like, if you didn't know that he had died in 2014, you'd be like, wow, that's a really cool of Harold Ramis to show up, because Jesus, like, it is such, the CG department, give them every award.
They need to win. This movie needs to win an Oscar for at least that.
All of them.
And what I loved about it was he looked like an older Egon. Mm-hmm. And he had the gray hair. You could tell the hair is gray, like Harold Ramis's hair had turned when he got older. Mm-hmm. It just beautiful. And that whole sequence.
That's where I did a lot of my crying.
Yep.
I mean, the whole movie was a lot of crying, but especially in that scene.
Well, him touching her hair, and then the hug.
Yeah, It got me. The whole thing, I was just like, it was so beautifully done.
Yep.
Because there have been movies in the past where either it's like, Uncanny Valley, where you're like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable with that.
Like Rogue One, they did a good job with Peter Cushing. They did a good job, because they got a guy that looked like Peter Cushing to put that on. Halloween Kills, that was all prosthetics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm still completely
yeah,
floored by that. Like,
yeah,
hi guys, can we just move back to practical effects for big
yeah.
things and then like
No,
tweak
that
them
was
with
just,
CGI? Because you do realize how many talented artists there are out there to make your vision come to life.
yeah. Um,
Please, and that was another thing I liked about this. There were a lot of practical effects in this
oh
movie.
yeah. Now, and I know that a lot of people were disappointed Slimer wasn't in this one, but it makes sense because he was in the containment facility. That's why he wasn't there.
Mhm.
But here, let's go back to well, first of all, the movie with the four Harold.
God damn
It's like
it.
here we're gonna twist it just a little half inch more for you and just make
Mhm.
it go for Harold at the end because why not? Um, I love about this flick, if you stay through the credits, not only do you find out that Peter and Dana got married, which was fantastic, it was so
I
cute.
honestly missed that. I was like, I saw the scene, but I didn't like, my brain was too.
He had a wedding ring on.
Yeah, so did she apparently. My
No,
friend told me. Or
no.
was it what? I don't know. I didn't, well, again, did not pay attention. Too emotional to pay very close attention to the scene. I saw most of what was happening and I loved it. But yeah, I already knew going into it the first time that I was gonna have to see it again because I would be
Yeah.
crying so much I was going to miss things. And yeah, I was right about that. So yes, I
So,
have to go back.
but what I love about this movie is Winston Zedmore finally
Uh,
gets his due because I don't know if you guys know who, if you stayed with us this long, thank you. But if you, but if you know the story about what happened with Ernie Hudson and the character of Winston and how it was originally supposed to be Eddie Murphy
mhm.
and how after Eddie Murphy left, they completely like redid the character and he wasn't in it nearly as much and it
Yeah, because
wasn't as
he had such a fleshed out backstory
yeah.
initially.
Yeah, and he had a as much of a part as the other three.
Hmm.
So Winston has always kind of been a sore spot for Ernie Hudson a little bit because they changed the script after he'd signed in, and he is a classically trained actor. He's not small potatoes. Ernie Hudson's fantastic. Um, so at the end of this, we find out Ernie Hudson's character of Winston Zedmore has gone on to become the most successful Ghostbuster. He's no longer a Ghostbuster, or he'll always be a Ghostbuster, but he is like I want to say he's like a cryptocurrency icon or something. I
It's he
didn't
does
really
something
go into
in
it.
and to quote Ray Stantz, finance.
Yes, he's in finance and he's loaded and he
No,
is
no,
rich.
he's in finance. You have to say it
Finance.
like Stantz did. I was like, Dan Aykroyd, that was a choice.
Finance, and
His finance.
he's got all the money. He's been supporting Ray's bookstore the whole time.
And the fact when because it's Janine and Winston having a conversation in his office at the end of the movie. And I love they did
Just such a good
the
job with
they
that.
played a clip from the original movie before the scene started when Janine gives Egon one of her lucky coins and she's like, "Don't worry." And he's like, "Well, you might not get it back because we might all die." And she's like, "Don't worry about it. I have another one at home." And then the scene cuts to you just see Janine sitting
Holding
in
it.
the office holding it, and then she's talking to Winston and she's like, "Are you still paying Ray's bills or whatever?" And
Yeah,
he's like,
his
and he
rent.
says, yeah, he says something about, "Oh,
One day he'll
Ray'll
make a profit.
yeah." And I was like, "Oh, because it's been almost 40 years and I love you so much."
Yeah, and it's just such a beautiful scene, and it sets it up in a way that you know that Winston is going to be financing the Ghostbusters, or they're going to come back, and
Yeah.
how he pets the ecto ones is what a
Well, I
good
just
ET baby.
right. And he's like, don't worry, darling. I'll take care of you. I'll clean you up." And then the scene, like it's the post credit scene. There are two. There's one in the middle. It's the mid
You have to stay
credits,
through the whole end.
and
You
then
have
the
to.
post credits. There's the shot of the Ecto One driving down the bridge, and then the office, and then while he's talking to Janine, it keeps cutting back and forth between them in the office and him at the firehouse with the Ecto-1.
Yep. And the last shot is the red light coming on the containment unit. Yeah, which is not a good sign. Which is why I want Walter Peck to come back.
Which is a great sign for me.
I want Walter Peck to be the villain in the next one so bad.
Yes.
Because he still is amazing.
He is wonderful.
I drank with that man.
I have to hear that story because I'm sure it's great.
He is so good.
But like when you watch Ghostbusters again as an adult, you're like, he's a dick, but he's not entirely wrong.
Right. He's completely right. You guys are doing a dangerous
all
thing.
He needed to do from the beginning was just say please.
What's so funny is, I will tell you a quick story because I know we're going to have to cut here because we've been over an hour, but I wanted to tell the story that I found out because he came to a show at Horror Hound Weekend, and we had the original Gozer, and I believe we had the original Slimer, the guy that was
the puppeteer.
The puppet, I think it was the puppeteer. I want to say that. I think Steve Johnson was there too.
Okay.
My crazy uncle Steve, whom I love to death. And if you want to hear stories, go get the audiobook of Rubberhead, because Steve knows how to talk about stories, the things that he remembers. There was a lot of things involved back in the 80s. There was a lot of things in the 80s.
Well,
there's a lot of things in the 80s. But anyway, apparently somebody went up to poor Walter Peck, and that's not his name, but they asked him to sign the autograph. Yes, I have no dick, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. I'm like, good on you, sir. Don't you dare put that on a document. But I thought it was hilarious that somebody actually had the balls and nerve to ask him to sign that on an autograph.
That's amazing.
It's very amazing.
You cannot have a French bar. My other dog.
Oh God,
like,
no.
Hey,
no.
Lady, what's up? You can't have that. It will kill you.
Yes, no, bad.
I'll be very upset.
The dogs apparently think it's time for us to go as well. I want to thank everybody that's going to watch this. If you haven't watched it, if you were with us at any point, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. This was fun. We need to do this more.
Yes, please.
We need to do more live streams. And if you guys have specific things that you want us to talk about or hear about or have us have discussions about, please comment below in the credits. Let us know. And again, thank you. I'm glad you made it. I was so like the whole movie, I was worried about you. So I'm glad you made it, and I barely made it. So
yeah, same.
And
like, it was.
By the way, guys, if you go to the theater, if you go to Cinemark, this is my son. She also has a son.
I do. His name is Ogbert von Stay Puft.
Yes, and mine is what I call him, Ogilvy, something bizarre. I was inspired by you. When my son, Esquire here,
yes.
That apparently there were these Ecto-1 fancy schmancy popcorn holders that only AMC theaters had. Rude. And they sold out, and apparently one of my friends said that the theater that he went to, they let a bunch of scalpers buy theirs before the movie even came out, like the day of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody asking for 20 of those things at one setting is pretty much definitely going to be reselling them on eBay.
That's
but
hateful.
they were the rickety old Ecto-1 from the movie too.
I want that.
Yeah, go on eBay. They're probably going for like a couple $100 now.
I've already seen the Stay Puffed popcorn bowls on there, which, by the way, they hold a surprising amount of popcorn. Like, I thought
Yeah, they gave me a try. I didn't want to put it in there because I didn't want to have to try cleaning this thing
it
with.
wasn't that bad. I cleaned it out already. But I was like, I thought all my popcorn was gone, and then I moved the bucket, and
And
it's
there's
like,
still
oh
popcorn in
no,
it.
it looked almost full again. Like,
Wow.
it was
Yeah,
impressive. I'm like,
I had them put it in the trough. They wouldn't even give me a bag, even though I paid $12 for that thing.
rude.
They put it in a trough, and it's like, you can't give me a bag for it? No. Like, all right.
Rude.
But anyway, I like my Proton Pack cup too. The cups are nice, but I would have
They
liked
didn't
it.
have any when I was there. I'll have to go
Oh
to another.
no,
Well, I have to
yeah,
go to the other theater by my house and
because
see
it's
if
got
they
a
have
really
them.
cool. The cup's really cool. Let's see if I can grab it. Come here, you. I don't want to have to go. There we go. Um, it has the equipment.
Nice.
And then there's this really cool. See that face out of the thing, and then I picked the Proton Pack one.
Yeah, because I know they had what they had that they had
Slimer,
Slimer.
and the logo, I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but I love the cup. The cup is great, and it's all the
hopefully they
new.
have it at the other theater.
Yeah, I'm surprised they were out. Well, that's why I would like the minute I went in there, I'm like, I want that and that.
Yeah, I got there early to get Ogbert.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you again. Keep checking back here and subscribe so you know when we're doing stuff. And we'll do some more of these live streams, hopefully more often. And again, thank you for watching. Thank you, Z.
Thank you.
Check us out on Fangirl Radio as well, because we've got new episodes coming up. Yeah, we'll have more interviews on there as well. So see you guys. Viva Harold Ramis. Happy birthday, sir, wherever you may be.
Happy birthday, my first true love.
Yeah, mine too. I pretty much guarantee you that man had something to do with the fact that I'm all about pale, thin, goofy, smart guys.
Same.
It's true. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. But thank
I
you
regret
guys
nothing.
so much. True. I don't regret any of it, and it's still eerie to me how much he looks like Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
Really, really scary. Anyway, guys, thank you again. We'll talk to you later, and be safe. Spread the word, not the virus.
Bye. Bye.